what have we just seen? That was
God.
cuckoo. I mean, the Champions League letting off all its fireworks at once. 18 quite overstimulating games. Kick-off, Cocaine Bear style at the same time. That UEFA anthem, faintly audible all over our planet. And the sweetest of footballing orgasms on this night, in which Bruges was so good for reals. Scared the heck out of Man City for over an hour. Almost treated them as if they were Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell. A Liverpool babies team, plus Endo, their dad, lost to Pepe and PSV. Arsenal rumbled in Girona. PSG, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich all did what they had to do to stay alive. Yay, big clubs. And we'll take all your questions and reactions on this night. We'll do it live. But first, let me introduce my guest. How we needed this. I don't know about you, but I've been drowning in the darkness. So to unpack it all, the author of The Fault in Our Stars and the forthcoming Tomo Wisdom, everything is tuberculosis, available for pre-order now. He really is an immense human being, massive Liverpool, Wimbledon fan. He looks amazing. I've got to be candid. I was like, genuinely, this was like Oscar-winning John Green that came on here, but he is the best Green since Julian, the ray of light. It's Mr. John Green.
Oh, it's good to be with you, Raj. And what an attraction we just witnessed. I'm not sure if I enjoyed it. It was like one of those overabundant fireworks shows where you keep asking yourself, is that the finale? Is that the finale? Have we reached the finale yet? Because I am kind of ready to go home. 60 goals in 90 minutes, an absolute explosion of football.
It was, we'll talk about it. I do want to get everyone's experience. Was this a win, America? Tell us if you loved it. America, tell us if you didn't love it. I mean, I don't want to say this publicly. It was like watching a dirty movie that was just endings. It was just, I don't know how to say that politely. It was like, I just felt dirty at the end of it. Like, genuinely, I'm like Natalie and Brugger, like cold and shame, like naked on the floor. But I do want to quickly, John Green, before we get into the football, first of all, a letter from a great friend of the pod, Joe Lambert, who wrote to us, meninblazers@gmail.com. Joe wrote, this one's pedantic and loyally, but I'm the sort of person who'll let a stranger know if he's got spinach in his teeth. Joe Lambert, I'm actually interested in when you've done that and exactly how that went. But he wanted, Joe continues, I need to bring this to your attention. John Green's book is The Fault in Our Stars. Not the fault is in our stars. There's no is. John's too nice a person to correct you. John, I am so sorry.
Well, but to be fair, you're closer to the actual Shakespeare, which is the fault is not in our stars, dear Brutus, but in ourselves. So yeah. I would argue that maybe the fault was with me, not with you.
God, I just want to apologize to everyone because I know you have a very rabid fan base that I never want to piss off. But second, you do have a massive book coming out about tuberculosis. It's called Everything is in the tuberculosis. Sorry if I got that one wrong, Joe Lambert. I'm about to read it. I'm bloody excited. But can we just say, I've been watching your Instagram post this past couple of days. It almost feels like sci-fi to hear you report that the United States is currently grappling with its largest tuberculosis outbreak since 1950 in Kansas City, of all places.
We've got a lot of tuberculosis in the United States, Raj. We have about 10,000 cases of active TB a year. Microbes don't know about political borders. And when you let 10 million people get sick with a curable disease every year, some of those people are going to infect people across borders. And that's what's happening. And so we've always had TB in the United States. You know, my great uncle, Stokes Goodrich was his name. My great grandfather's brother died of tuberculosis. And it was a common cause of death until 70 years ago. And if we're not careful, it will be a common cause of death in the United States again.
Be safe, be healthy, people, and buy this book. Savor your health. Let's never take it for granted. By the way, here's how tonight works. It's a do it live, which means you can come on the show, ask John anything about football or life. Just scan the QR code in the top left of your screen, take you onto a Zoom with our producer, Tony, Big T. We'll get you set up to ask your question. Come and be with us. It's audio only. Do not be afraid. If you can't wait, slap your comments in the chat. We'll get the best ones up. It's already humming. Dave Fetterman says, wait, dirty movies have endings. I don't know. I've told you all I know. All right. Sergei Kvashniuk says, City's through. Never doubted it. We'll talk about it. Daniel Pereira, lot students not quite up to the level of what Klopp's kids were in the Carabao Cup last season. Ha, ha, ha. And Lamar Matt just says, what's up, homies? I don't know, Lamar. I wish I knew. To the meat of tonight's Champions League, that orgasm, really, that made for TV live event, appointment viewing, we were told, for fans around the world. Miguel Delaney wrote in The Independent something quite fascinating. He wrote, this is a modern development in how the place to be will not be so much at the actual games where the action's happening, unless you're a club supporter. The place to be will be in front of your screens, because something just as important is going to happen elsewhere. John, what did you think of tonight as a viewer? Likey, not likey, there can be no in between.
Not likey. And maybe I'm just old fashioned. I know that there's a common complaint about football among Americans, which is that there isn't enough goal scoring, right? Like there isn't enough scoring. And I love something like the NFL Red Zone channel that goes from game to game, and it's quite thrilling, and you never have a commercial, and it's action after action. I thought the guys in the studio, the CBS Golazo studio, did a great job. It's none of that. It's just when you have 18 football matches, you don't see the build-up play. You don't see you only see goals. Like we saw, and we saw some bangers. We saw some goalkeeping howlers. We saw some bangers. We saw some goal mouth scrambles. We saw some penalties. We saw every kind of goal that it all. And that's thrilling in a way. But for me, there was something lacking in the drama because it was just pure, as you put it so movingly, Raj, endings.
Just endings. Yes.
Ending after ending after ending.
Yes,
finish after finish after finish.
It was like the end of Cinema Paradiso, really, the end of the Champions League. It was just the kisses in one mega cut is really exactly what it was. I found it weird, to be honest. I was so excited for today because I got caught up in the hype. And then it was just so many games, so many cities, so many goals. I just helter-skelter, whiplash, jackknife. It's like watching a home run derby instead of watching an actual baseball game, to be candid.
Yeah, it was, you know what it was like? On the last day of the Premier League season, they have 10 games at once, and I can just barely take that. That's just enough. Like that's right on the edge of what I can handle. 18 games, too many.
That's so interesting. You know, the number 6 is the number that human brains can compute on site. Like when we see 6 things, we automatically...
Oh, we know it's 6?
Yeah, so maybe 10 is what the human brain can take in on the Sci-Fi Channel, on Bravo, on all those channels they fling. But 18, too many.
Too many for me. It was too many for me. And I know that makes me sound like an old man yelling at a cloud. I'm sure the young people had a great time because they can handle 18 games at once. You know, you're 23 years old. You got your whole life in front of you. You can probably handle 18 games at once. But I'm 47. Those days are behind me.
That's God bless. By the way, I didn't know what goals were either. I've been watching Everton all season, so it was completely overstimulating.
I experienced more goals in the last 90 minutes, I think, genuinely, than I have all season. I don't think any team scored 60 goals this season.
It was like listening to Chris Berman just go back for the last 90 minutes. Morgan Fost in the chat says chaos was wanted and chaos reigned. Was it? I mean, we need to talk also about the new big gulp Swiss system. What we've just lived for the first time, the big 36 team league thing. I think in Starbucks it's called a Trenta. I had to look that one up. It had its doubters in the club game in the beginning. At the beginning, people just thought it was formless, lacked structure, lacked a hook for the first 5 or 6 rounds, as every team was almost on its own choose your own adventure, its own journey. Liverpool played Real Madrid, Bayer Leverkusen, Leipzig, almost like Dora the Explorer, John. It's what it felt like having to face up to, like the chocolate river, the rainbow lake, the crocodile mountain. The middle of the competition to me was a bit of a mid in terms of intrigue. Yeah. It all built up to tonight. You're an expert in narrative. This is one I wanted to set you up for. You are a an incredible novelist. Joe Lambert, I'm saying that to John, but I'm thinking about you. You know literary structure and form. What do you think, having lived it, of this new format? Not just tonight, but over the past, I think, 7 years that we've watched it unfurl together. That's what it feels like. Did it hold as a narrative thread for you?
I worry that the simplicity of top 2 in, bottom 2 out is a little more narratively compelling than top 8 in with a bye and next 16 in and bottom 8 out. I just think there's something about the simplicity of 4 teams play each other twice a piece and the winners go on. That's hard to beat. I think the counter argument was there will be a night like tonight. And it'll be really interesting to see how tonight goes down, because I'm only one person. And of course, like, I've also been a football fan for decades. So of course I'm going to like the old way. You know, football fans hate change. We're notorious for that.
I like the symmetry, John. I've got to be candid. The home and away,
yeah.
We meet again.
We meet again. Maybe we drew you then, but we'll beat you now. Maybe, you know, there's something about that. There's something about picking up a scrappy point on the road that's compelling to me narratively. So I do worry that we've sacrificed sort of small, meaningful narratives along the way in the name of this big, gigantic narrative that all culminates tonight. And the last couple of weeks were pretty fun, and tonight was pretty fun, insofar as I could follow along with what was happening. But I don't know. It made me a little nostalgic, to be honest with you.
You liked it because you're Liverpool aced it. Your supporters shield winners, baby. By the way, those listening are trying to work out what the hell we just saw. If you finish in the top 8, you automatically progress into the last 16, where you'll be seeded. You will wait for the winners of 8 two-legged knockout playoff ties now, featuring the clubs ranked 9th to 24th. That draw will be finalised on Friday, and those who finish 9th to 16th will be seeded, face a team placed 17th to 24th. Hello, Man City. Clubs 25th or lower, bye-bye. Eliminated. Lots of football, lots of noise, essentially to get rid of 11 teams. Maybe that's football. But tonight was a level of chaos, so complex. The UEFA officials had to build a simulator to help clubs understand what the hell was going on. And even with the simulator, it was very difficult to fathom. Everything was close. 3 points between Arsenal and Brest. He said Brest, who were in 13th place. Arsenal were in 3rd going into this. We had the Kenny Loggins danger zone, the anals, in which Man City and Paris Saint-Germain were sullying themselves. So let's start there with the first game. Man City 3, Bruges 1. I've just spoiler alerted it for you. I mean, remarkable. Little Manchester City. Congratulations, John. They aced it. So endearing. It's so heartwarming.
I am no friend of Manchester City, I'll confess, as a longtime Liverpool fan. And yet, when they went 1-0 down against Club Bruges with Simon Mignolet in goal, he's our keeper, our Belgian keeper. He's Simon Mignolet, we used to sing. When they went 1-0 down to Liverpool's goalkeeper, Simon Mignolet, and I saw Pep on the sideline. I mean, I was worried about Pep. I texted you. I texted you. I'm concerned about Pep. I'm genuinely concerned about Pep. You pointed out that the scratching of the bald head had reemerged. And I worry about that guy because he doesn't have a lot in his life other than football, you know? And like, you need some balance. I've talked about this before, but like, Pep needs to take up gardening. He needs another thing in his life.
Ill-advised cargo pants. I think those are his hobby.
Yeah, and that's like not enough, Raj.
Yeah, I think ultimately there's only so many places you can put the pocket, Pep. But it was an amazing at Bruges. 20 games unbeaten coming in, but they're bloody Bruges. I mean, this is not a big football team. Speaking to fans of theirs yesterday, they were like, "Yeah, we don't expect a lot here," but their team were organised. They were disciplined. They were physically robust. And Manchester City, Pep would say, we're going to be cold in this one. We're gonna. What were his words? He said something about storming. We scored goals in the first 20 minutes, and when that didn't happen, you saw the crowd go silent. City lose their verve.
Whoa! The crowd goes silent at the Etihad.
Yeah, I know. I didn't think I'd live to see the day either, John. But they did, and they're even silenter. Is that possible to be even silenter? Well, we saw that tonight. It was like, is that a black hole? Was it negative space, negative sound? When was it Van Aken strolling through the middle, fed Juckler, who managed to juke Nunez out of his socks in a way that was both awesome, very terrifying, and incredibly funny, depending on who you are.
Oof.
Rolled the boards out on the Kia, who slapped to Ederson. John, you're such a lovely human being. You did text me. You said, I fear for Pep. Do you feel an empathy for him? Because
of course,
seeing him so vulnerable and exposed, the scratches on the head they upset me humanly. But this was a man who's destroyed worlds.
Yeah, and destroyed my worlds, to be clear. And yet, he's a human being. I mean, I try to be able to extend my empathy to all human beings, including football managers for rival teams. And I just think that he's obviously you can I don't know what's going on with Pep, but you can tell he's had a rough year. You can just tell.
Mountain goats.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been listening to a lot of the Mountain Goats.
Would you like to smash a couple of beers with Pep and just like listen to the goats, fire up the goats?
I think if I had a chance to have a beer with Pep, I'd have a serious talk with him about how you need to diversify your identity. You can't just be one thing in your life. You know, you can't just think of yourself as Pep Guardiola football coach. You got to think of yourself as Pep Guardiola parent, Pep Guardiola gardener, Pep Guardiola cargo pants enthusiast, all those things.
I love the idea of the two of you just in Manchester.
I think we could have I'd enjoy that, Raj. I feel like you get to have a beer with a lot of cool people. That's like one of your superpowers, Raj, is that in your life you've had probably a beer with more cool people than anyone else on earth today. And I don't get to have a beer with a lot of cool people, but I feel like I could have a good beer with Pep Guardiola.
I'd love it. You get your Spotify out on your phone and play them. We're going to make it to this year.
If it kills us.
Yeah, I know. Pep, listen to this. And you blow my mind, John Green. Oh, so good. Mounted hoods. So good. What is this? I mean, you know what? Let's just stop the show right now. It's not going to get any better in this moment, but it did for City, thank God. God knows what went on in that locker room at half time. I mean, City had last failed to progress from the group stage in 2013. Bruges needed just a point to make the playoffs. City began to grind and gird and suffer and struggle. They had no creativity. Needs must. Kovacic wombled up the gut, rolled the ground ball, bobbling into the corner past Mignolet, back on level terms, but they still needed another, and they were quite maniacal in their approach. No control, very little belief. But the commentator called it Hail Mary on every pass football. Bruges actually looked the likeliest to score for about 10 minutes. Needing creativity, needing a sharp edge. They got some from the left back, as they so often have done. That speedy frigate, Gvardiol, burst into the box. John, you must have been relieved according to your empathy. Nothing to see here anymore.
No.
Go home. An own goal for Nunez. How did you feel in that moment?
Oh, to be clear, I wanted Manchester City to lose and be kicked out of the Champions League. I thought that would have been hilarious and wonderful. My only concern about them getting kicked out of the Champions League is that maybe then they focus a little more in the Premier League, which could be a problem for Liverpool. Part of me that wanted them to win that game. I wanted Simon Mignolet to celebrate over the grave of Manchester City's Champions League dreams. But when that goal went in, I was like, well, this is inevitable. You know, like the thing that always happens. And one thing that frustrates me sometimes about football is that you have this dream that everybody starts. It's a flat pitch and it's an equal story and everybody has an equal chance. You know, it's all about the quality of play. I thought Bruges played great. Actually, I thought they played a really smart. I thought they set up well. I thought they played a really smart football game, and so I was disappointed for them for sure.
I'm so unbelievably happy for them to make it into the playoffs.
And it was cool. It's always cool to see both teams celebrating at the end, right? Like that's always a good feeling when both teams are celebrating at the end. And, and that was a magical moment when there was 1 minute of stoppage time and they were clearly kicking the ball around with no intent of doing anything. And everybody knew that they were going on in the competition.
And God bless, Man City do go on. And they are going to play in the playoffs the week before they play Liverpool, who will have a free week now. Man City will play either Real Madrid or Bayern Munich in those playoffs.
We like it. We like it.
Likey.
I like it.
In other games on the brink, no contest really. Stuttgart, Paris Saint-Germain, winner go through. PSG's tactic of starting all wingers in almost every position worked in this one early and often. They scored. First goal was delicious. I think a flick acrobatique. It was called, and then the brave header. Bradley Barcola crashing the far post. Dembele then just randomly scored a hat-trick. An emphatic 4-1 win when you only need a draw to advance. PSG turned it on against good teams when it mattered in this Champions League at the end. In other magical games, Real Madrid, pumped breast. That's one's for you, Micah Richards. God bless Carlo Ancelotti's gents. They've been terrific since they got absolutely battered by Barcelona. Bellingham amongst the scorers. Brest, by the way, to me, the joy of this round. I think they were amateur until 2004, risen to Ligue 1 in 2019. Their stadium has been described as from the Middle Ages. They're on a tiny budget. They've done this with a real veteran-savvy squad who've been quite stable, and a manager, Eric Waugh, who's really defined himself there. They're almost like a French Bournemouth, John, and they do make us believe as they get into this next round that for a moment, football's not about money. We know it is, but for a moment, we can pretend it doesn't, right?
Yeah, they give us that dream. And in general, the French teams played great in the Champions League knockout rounds, and all this talk about how the French league couldn't stack up to the Saudi league has really been laid to rest, I think. We've got 3 teams in the knockouts.
God bless. Trois équipes, I think, or something like that. Bjorn Stromson comes out with a great idea. You're making a joke, Bjorn, but I think UEFA do listen to this and will make it happen. He says, I've heard maybe Inter Miami will be put into the final round just for the lols. Amazing.
Yeah. They'll just stick them somewhere between 24 and 25.
Yes. I mean, they'll do it because Inter Miami, but also because Ronaldo, which would just be glorious. Do it. Let's talk quickly about your own private Idaho, John. Liverpool Football Club tonight, because they were perfect and they were ready first or second before kickoff, played PSV and Pepe. They fielded the babies, the C team. Even Chiesa got a game. It was a bit like going to the theatre to see Hamilton, finding out Lin-Manuel Miranda was not performing and his understudy Jadon Danns was. Can I ask you, the game was 3-2. Pepe got the winner. God bless PSV. I adore that team. But I wanted to ask you about your experience of Darwin Nunez. Because your Liverpool, I mean, they are on one. I think that's what literary types like yourself talk about when they think of Liverpool. They are on one. And the greatest symbol of that onness, weekend before last, was watching Darwin Nunez trundle onto the field as a laughingstock meme against Brentford. I think Liverpool had 35 shots at that point to no avail. And then he just joyfully, redemptively, magically lashed 2 goals after the 91st minute in the crux of a title race, left the field in tears. I don't like to be hyperbolic, but did this feel to you like an epic Greek poem moment in a championship season ballad of destiny, John?
It did. I also think that the way Darwin Nunez is imagined by football fans is different from the way he's imagined by Liverpool fans. We love our agent of chaos. We love his unpredictability. We love his wide swipes that land in Rosette. We are fascinated and enthralled by his genius. He's just a different kind of genius. He's closer to a Bobby Firmino than an Erling Haaland. I don't mean that in style of play. I mean that in style of genius. Where he's unpredictable, but he's there when you need him. He's a bit of a I would say, more talented Divock Origi, where, and that's the highest compliment I can give a football player, where he is just a special kind of genius. And I love watching him play. I love watching him off the ball, actually, because he's always imagining how he's about to be on the ball. Like, even when the ball is with Virgil van Dijk, Darwin Nunez is like, this is great. I'm about to score. And I love that.
I love that. And I love, when I watch him, I think of what the great Bell Hooks wrote, that when she wrote, contrary to what we may have been taught to think, unnecessary and unchosen suffering wounds us, but it need not scar us. It does mark us. What we allow the mark of our suffering to become is in our own hands. He is a bell hooks kind of football player.
Yeah. And I bet he reads bell hooks.
Undoubtedly, I think probably not even in the Spanish translation.
No,
I think
no.
I think he mastered English just so he could go deeper and understand Bell as Bell.
I love Darwin Nunez so much. I mean, I love all the players. It's part of being a Liverpool fan for me. I really buy into the notion that you never buy into the notion that we should support our players in ways that maybe other teams don't stand up for their players. But Nunez in particular, I genuinely think he's misunderstood. Like, I genuinely think he's a misunderstood genius.
Go on. You do think he's a genius?
Yeah. I think that, like, he doesn't score in every game, but he does something to upset the balance in every game. He does something to confuse, and it's almost as if he's behaving from a place that isn't a rational place. He's working from a place where the rest of footballers aren't working from, which allows him to both have these like unbelievably catastrophic misses, but also allows him to score goals that no one saw coming.
God, that place of just that disturbance in the fourth, it's just got him and Neil Maupay in there.
Yes. Yeah, Neil Maupay is a great example.
Just you and me in here. Probably a little bit. I think you can still smell Vardy's cologne in there.
Absolutely.
But my God, may we all live a couple of nights in that place, the Diego Costa place. Girona 1, Arsenal 2. Arsenal certain before kickoff, pretty much of a top 8 finish. Rest the starters time. Neto made his first start, probably last start in goal. Wanyeri, Kivior, Raz got a start. By the way, Neto crapped the bed. A fantastic finish by Danjuma to chip him from long range. Never did that for Everton. Jorginho equalised. And then 17-year-old Ethan Wanyeri, like a Saka cover band, cut inside. And Arsenal wonder. Cruise control. Poor Raz Sterling missed a penalty right at the end of the game. I do ache for him. He cannot catch a break. But the other big news, John, today, Arsenal put in a $75 million reported bid for Aston Villa's Ollie Watkins on a Champions League match day. Poor form, rejected by Villa, who do not want to let their childhood Arsenal fan striker go. It's kind of incredible because we thought Arsenal had no desire to sign a striker, so life can change. But Arsenal with a striker, John Green, it's like me with hair. It's almost unimaginable.
Yeah, it's both thrilling and a little terrifying. Arsenal with a proper striker. I will say Ollie Watkins in this game for Villa, where Villa, to credit them, and we're not going to probably give them much attention, but they ended up in the top 8. It's an incredible result for Villa fans, for that football club that's got a long history in Europe. I mean, it was really a beautiful thing to see. Wonderful to see them in the top 8, but Ollie Watkins took a penalty where he kicked the ball off of his standing foot, and it probably went 600 feet over the goal.
Oh my God, poor guy! His planting foot, I think, landed on some sod that wasn't properly fitted. He slid. The penalty was hilarious.
But my thought was that he's trying to lower the price to get to Arsenal.
I love that piece. He's negotiating against himself. He's also never looked more like an Arsenal striker at the same time. But you're right. Respect to Aston Villa. 3 goals from Morgan Rogers against his fictional dad, Brendan Rodgers. Both teams make the next round. I think Aston Villa came 8th. Them making the top 8 is some delirious dream for their fans. So that is it. 2 very quick points. We're going to get to your questions in a second. I do think it's great for football at clubs like Atalanta, Aston Villa, Feyenoord, Lille, Brest, up there, Celtic and PSV making the playoffs. I think to a large degree is meant to be the point of this. Not every mid-level European power gets that thrill. I will say it's less than perfect, though, that Zagreb not making it means that the final 24 does not contain any team east of Munich, which is a little Super League-y, but really makes me realize Stalin's impact still being felt in football, at least, John Green.
Indeed. Not just being felt in football, I would argue.
God bless, and that's for our other podcast. Today in the impacts of Kremlinology, Lauren in the chat says, Old format was boring. Big teams made it through. We see Celtic go through. We see Club Brugge. How is that not good? Lauren, come be with us. I love your approach to life. We want to take your questions in 1 second. I do need to touch upon a couple of Premier League characters with you, John, and how you've experienced them. First of all, David Moyes, who says you can't go home again. Back at Everton, 2 wins in 3. The football, kind of missionary position, but the results, the aura, they're at least 7 or so. Bite your arm off for 7. What's it been like for you seeing the old man return to his happy place like old man Marley saved the day in Home Alone?
Well, it's hard for me as a Liverpool fan ever to see Everton succeed. And I do enjoy our chants to Manchester United about how you're going down with the Ev. That's not exactly how we sing it, but I like that. It makes me happy. I don't actually want Everton to go down, because then how would we get those 6 points every year?
These are the things. You are sometimes our self-interests collide, my friend. I'll take that slap on my face as if it was a kiss. From joy to sadness, from the Everton of the North to the Everton of the South, Tottenham Hotspur, 1 point in their last 7 games, crap in the bed on repeat. That poor fan base, shattered hopes, disbelief. Yesterday, board chairman Daniel Levy said he wants poor deflated, lovely cuddly Ange Postecoglou to, quote, plot a course through the storm at Tottenham, which I guess means they've tried to hire someone else. No one else would come now. I've got to say, John, I have found it humanly not devastating, but close watching this big dreamer, this quite emotionally empathetic man be beaten down by Premier League reality, tabloid buzzsaw. How have you experienced it? It's almost like a big Australian Eeyore just sagging, deflated. It's almost torturous reality.
Yeah, it's hard to watch. I mean, I feel so bad for him. And I watched his post-match interview after the last match where he said, the players are trying, what else can we do? And they do have a lot of injuries. They do have some things stacked against them, but this is such an old story for Tottenham fans. And if I were a Tottenham fan, I would be so frustrated. This whole idea that we're going to play attractive football to dare is to do, and yet we're going to lose every game. It's not, in the end, it's not attractive football if you're losing. And every football fan knows that. Like, no matter how high the line, no matter how thrilling the counterattacks, whatever, losing is not fun. And Tottenham fans have just seen too much of that.
You're a theological man. One of the many reasons I love you. Is Ange as close as we have come to the Book of Job lived out in the footballing technical coaching area?
I mean, he's certainly in the conversation for Jobiest current Premier League manager. I think it's interesting that Pep Guardiola, sitting in a Champions League place, is also in the conversation for Jobiest Football League manager. I mean, that guy, he doesn't actually suffer that much, but he experiences the suffering so profoundly. Ange seems to, or until recently, seemed to let the suffering kind of flow off his back, Job style, but now it's starting to really get to him.
Yes, it is. I mean, that line from the Book of Job, we accept good things from God. Should we not accept evil? Also in the conversation, Ruben Amorim, who I just filmed with in an interview that will come out on Friday, who kept repeating to me, I am so happy to be here. I am the right man for this job, which is the stage, is all I can say. My God.
I believe that's called bargaining. In the 5 stages of grief, I believe that's number 4, bargaining.
I am so happy to be here. We've also got to touch upon another man of constant sorrow. My God, I thought of you actually when I watched this. Poor Kuzanov, the 20-year-old Uzbeki defender, made his debut at the weekend after a $41 million move from Lens to Man City and utterly crapped the bed. 2 minutes in, blunder, leading to a Chelsea goal, yellow card within 4 minutes, then played on, shell-shocked, borderline in tears. Honestly, it was as if John Green had created a protagonist and unleashed him upon Premier League football. It was heartbreaking, John.
It was hard to watch, and my heart broke for that young man. It's the last thing you want when you're in that situation. I don't know what it's like to be a Premier League footballer and have a bad debut, but I do know what it's like to bomb on stage. I know what it's like to, I've experienced.
When have you bombed on stage?
One time, Raj, I bombed in San Francisco. I gave this whole talk, and I actually thought it was going pretty well because everybody was giggling the whole time. And it was to a bunch of high school students, big auditorium room full of high school students, which is the most intimidating crowd on earth. I mean, I'd much rather speak to Pep Guardiola than a room full of high school students. It's, it just makes you feel like you're right back in high school. And they were sort of giggling, but not really paying attention. And I knew I was bombing. And so I was just trying harder. And then I was bombing harder, not unlike the Uzbek defender for Manchester City, actually. And then when it came time for questions, I was like, are there any questions? And like 400 hands went up all at once. And I was like, well, maybe I did okay, actually. They're curious. And so I said, yes, would you, what is your question? And they said, are you aware that your fly is down?
No!
And I said, no. I turned around and I zipped up my fly and I said, are there any other questions? Silence. The longest silence of my entire life up to this date. So I know what it's like to bomb, Raj. And that's what was happening to this young man. And it was brutal to watch. It was brutal to watch. And in the end, like, I almost thought they pulled him off too late. It's almost like, give the kid, he's got a long future ahead of him. He's going to have a great career. He's going to be okay.
Yeah. We've all had a Kuzanov moment, is what you're saying.
We've all had a Kuzanov moment.
I mean, you need that gentleman at the top who said he's the kind of person that tells strangers that they've got spinach in their teeth. I mean, it reminds me of James Corden, actually had a man, I've said this to you before, who before any time the camera went on, he'd say, teeth! And this man's whole job was to step in and be like, all clear! Because once he'd had like salad in his teeth. You need a fly checker.
I need a fly checker.
On this
gotta have a fly checker. Well, I'll tell you what, every time I've gone on stage for the last 22 years, I have 100% checked my fly immediately before going on.
Grenade in the hole. I've got to say, not to go to Alice Cooper on all your asses, but I want you all to know Abdukir means almighty in his own language. All these combos, Big Ange, you, me, Kuzanov, Darwin, Nunez. I do realize if this was high school, that would be our Freaks and Geeks lunch table, I think.
We'd be lucky. And we'd love it. We'd love our friends.
I know, Kuzi. Hey, Kuzi.
Hey, Kuzi.
Don't cry. It's only high school. Here, let's play some more John Darnielle.
But it's just, you're so exposed when you're out there. I mean, that's what beings in moments like that. And that that not only are they human beings, this kid's just a kid. He's 20 years old. There are college football players older than him. Like, he's just getting started in his life.
Oh, we've got to get you on Pep's balcony late at night, smoking cigarettes with Kuzanov and introduce him to John Darnielle. You should bring him with you.
I love it.
That foursome is going to save the world. One other nice piece of news tonight, watching Weston McKennie, captain Juventus in the Champions League. Gent fought for his place every single year to lead the team. It is beautiful. Godspeed to you, Weston. Christian Pulisic got a goal with a fine swivel and finish. Became the first US men's player to score 4 goals in a Champions League campaign. Milan made the playoffs. Stay strong, Prince Yunus Musa, who was sent off for 2 yellows tonight. But it's time for your questions. Come on up, unmute, tell us where you are and what your question is. If you want to join us here on YT Live, just scan that QR code or click the pinned comment in the chat. You can come on, ask John Green whenever you want about football, about life, about fly openings. First one up, Steve, tell us where you are. What's your question for John Green?
Hi, guys. I am Steve from Muncie, Indiana.
Love
and
Muncie.
My question has to do with Arsenal. Technically, both of these are on the table. Do you guys think that Arsenal would rather win the Champions League or the Premier League, as if they have a choice to win one?
That's a great question. I mean, what do you think, Raj? Because my inclination is that Arsenal would probably rather win the Champions League.
Yeah,
at least the players would. I don't know about the fan base.
Well, I think it does dog Arsenal fans that every major big team in Europe has won the Champions League and that they never have. I think that's like an open wound. My best Arsenal supporting friend, Michael Cohen, not that one, another one, he often told me in this pursuit of Manchester City that that Arsenal had a better chance of winning, even when they were second and close on the tail, had a better chance of winning the Champions League than they did the Premier League because Manchester City was so good. I just think right now, this Arsenal mood, there's almost it's not about what they can win, it's about what is being lost. That's like genuinely the agony in every regard. And the fact that Man City are having this season of darkness, and Arsenal, we were told that was the only thing between them and the Premier League title. I think there's almost like a flipping of a wig that, my God, City are crapping it and we're still not winning. There's almost a deep, deep, profound bug. Who are we? Are we always? I mean, you understand Shakespeare better than I do, but was it Cassius or Brutus that was always second to Mark Antony? Always was. They knew that he could like that sense of self-loathing that you can never win the thing you really do want. You want the one you can't have.
And even when even if you won't be second to Mark Antony, you'll be second to Brutus, right? Like that there will always be somebody in front of you. I think thinking right now, or part of the vibe around the club, I also think it's worth remembering like that the crisis days of Arsenal were not that long ago. And so to be in second and competing in the Champions League represents a level of stability and a level of promise for the football club that like was not there even 5 years ago.
God bless. I do actually remember when we were talking about Arsenal as we do Manchester United, that their squad is bloated, wages are ridiculous, deadwood everywhere. There's no way they can create a transformation. What they've been through. We don't need me to pat you on the head, Arsenal fans. I look at you. I think it's unbelievable what has been achieved. And I wish you joy, the kind of joy I experienced when Everton won the Florida Cup. Next one up. Oh, Anthony, come on up. Tell us where you are. What's your question for the great John Green?
This is Anthony coming in from the beautiful Columbia, Missouri.
Love Columbia.
Oh, thank you, John. I have a question for you, John, and it's an Anthropocene reviewed related question.
Great.
I'm sorry to have to ask you this, but I need you to tell me. Marry, kill, Liverpool Football Club, Diet Dr. Pepper, and the Indianapolis 500.
It's a good one. So these are three things I love. I love the Indianapolis 500. It's the largest non-religious gathering of human beings on earth.
Is that true?
Yeah. It's the largest secular gathering of humans. And it is a beautiful thing. 400,000. You got to come, Raj.
I would love to come.
You got to come with me.
Incredible. I hate crowds, so it doesn't really sound like my thing.
It won't even feel like a crowd, you know? It's so spread out. You won't even notice that there's 400,000 people with you. You won't at all be like shoulder to shoulder with the person next to you on a row of seats that go down for 70 rows. It won't be like that at all. You'll love it. You'll have a great time with me. I love the Indy 500. It's Christmas for people in Indianapolis. It's the most magical time of the year. I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning with tears in my eyes because I'm so happy. I love Liverpool Football Club. In some of the darkest times of my life, Liverpool's been there with me and for me. The song "You'll Never Walk Alone" has rung in my head countless times when I felt alone, and I was reminded that you're never alone, even when you feel like you are. In fact, especially when you feel like you're alone, you're not. And that there are people walking, if you've ever seen the musical Carousel, that there are people walking beside you who may not be here with you anymore, but who are still with you. And that's the song, that's the musical that the song comes from. And I love Diet Dr. Pepper. It's an incredible accomplishment. It's one of the greatest accomplishments in human history, I think. It's a marvel of chemical engineering. It's the first soda that doesn't taste like anything. It doesn't taste like an orange or like a lime. It doesn't taste like a cola nut. It tastes like the soda fountain at Waco, Texas that Dr. Charles Alderton manned. That smelled. It's magic. That said, I would kill Diet Dr. Pepper. No problem. Whatever. It's just a soda. There's other sodas. I can drink Diet Mountain Dew in a pinch. I would marry, and this is a hard one for me, but I would marry the Indianapolis 500 because I want it to be there for me year after year after year after year. And also because I think Liverpool Football Club would be fun to have a roll in the hay with.
God, I got so many responses to this. I went like Dr. Pepper. What was the name of the person that invented it?
Charles Alderton.
How did Charles Alderton decide this is the taste? I'm stopping now. This is the taste I've been looking like, as opposed to the other taste with a little bit more of that or whatever.
Yeah, he was trying to mimic the way that all the different soda flavors, the almond swizzle, the caramel fizz, the way all of them smelled together in his nose. And when he mixed these 23 flavors and drank it, he was like, that's it. I did it.
God, it's like the perfect football squad. I adore.
It is.
When you made me tear up when you talked about how when you hear You'll Never Walk Alone, you think about those who walk alongside us but who are no longer there, which is absolutely. But you mean Roy Hodgson, right?
I mean Roy Hodgson, absolutely.
my favorite Liverpool manager.
All
of
the
all
time.
Yeah,
I bet he's your favorite Liverpool manager of all time.
And Divock Origi. And that was an incredible question. You got a beautiful voice. And I think ultimately John is a bigamist, and we'll give him both of those things, Liverpool and the Indy 500. And I will come. I love your city. I'm so bloody fond of Indiana. And all that is creative and wonderful that comes out of that city, like home field. Godspeed to all of you. We'll take one more quick one before we finish. It is the great Will, who I know is from Miami, so you don't need to tell us where you're from, but come on up. What have you got for John Green?
I'll keep it brief. Hey, John. Hey, Raj. Thanks for having me. Just looking ahead to this weekend, really, with Liverpool, resting a lot of their key guys. How does that shape up for what is surprisingly a huge match against Bournemouth, one that we did not have circled back in August, but seems to carry all the weight of expectation now? I'll hang up and listen, but really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, appreciate you too.
God, that massive
it's going to be a great game.
Massive game. I mean, it's amazing. Man City. I mean, there's like enormous football matches this weekend that the Premier League probably thought were going to be their great showdown. But the one I cannot wait to watch is Liverpool bloody Bournemouth in every single regard. It is. I mean, it is epic.
It is. It's really exciting. I mean, look, this is a team that beat Nottingham Forest 5-0 a week ago. So we should be absolutely terrified. And I'm glad we rested so many of our starters and are giving ourselves the best opportunity we can to win that game. I think that the Arsenal-Man City game is going to be very exciting. I'll actually be there, which will be fun. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I'm flying over to see Wimbledon play, to see my beloved AFC Wimbledon play in the 4th tier of English football. And then the next
you just
night,
thought you'd slum it at all.
I thought I'd slum it the next day at the Emirates.
Why are you not going to Bournemouth, man? Liverpool? Is it Wimbledon playing at the same time?
Yeah.
I'd love to go to Bournemouth with you, John Green.
It'd be fun someday.
I would love. Have you ever been down to the Vitality?
Never been down to the Vitality Stadium.
It's incredible. It is the smallest non-religious gathering in the Premier League world. It's amazing. 11,400, but it is absolutely unbelievably epic. If you've not been to the Bubbles Lounge, which is the upsell ticket space in Bournemouth, you have never lived. It was
before you say that, you've got to go to the upsell lounge that AFC Wimbledon has, the 1889 lounge. It's pretty great. It's pretty great.
You look around and you're like, I've made it in life.
Every time I'm in AFC Wimbledon's hospitality section, I'm like, I really did make it,
The Bubbles Lounge was created by the old oligarch that did used to own Bournemouth. And God, when I was in it, I was like, I do not want to know what has happened in this Bubbles Lounge when I wasn't in it. But don't ask yourself those questions. I think Bournemouth are a delirious story. I think they are one of the most remarkable narratives I've seen. We just filmed with the American owner, Bill Foley, also into Las Vegas Golden Knights. It's a show that comes out on Friday. He's an incredible man. He is what you want Pep Guardiola to be, John. This man, he was a military man. He then made a fortune in some kind of the insurance sector that I don't fully understand. But then he's just he became a vintner. He has award-winning wine vineyards. Got fascinated by burgers. He's like Carl's Jr. Let's turn that around. He got into the NHL. He's having a blast with the Las Vegas Golden Knights, and then he's got into football. He arrived, brought Bournemouth, tiny pathetic Bournemouth. They've got to be just fodder. They've got to just be mid-level at best. And he said, I'm going to take them into Europe. We're good at Europe. And he tells the story of whether we meant it or not when he said it on our show. And then he talks about exactly how the different steps he's taken to transform Bournemouth and turn them into this surging collective punch. That show comes out on Friday. He is a remarkable human being. Their story is unbelievable. I can't wait for you all to hear it. But John, can you cap this by telling us how you feel about Liverpool? What are we, 22 games into the Premier League season? Where are we in terms of confidence towards, as a swimmer, seeing the end of the swimming pool, feeling like you can touch the bot?
No, I'm not there at all. Maybe rounding that last into that last long lap where a lot can happen. I think that people forget how small a 6-point lead is. I mean, it was only a few years ago that Manchester United had a 7-point lead on Manchester City with 3 or 4 games to go and let that collapse. So I think that there's a very, very long way to go. What I think is special about this Liverpool team is our midfield. And if that midfield stays healthy, we're very hard to beat because we are we do such a good job of controlling the ball. We do such a good job out of possession. And I think that I think this could be a very special year. But if I've learned anything from being a Liverpool fan since I was 12 years old, it's not to count your Premier League chickens before they hatch.
Oh, cluck, 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 baby. Kamikaze 152 in the chat says the Anthropocene reviewed by John Green is the entire reason that I began following Liverpool Football Club and the Premier League, and those things made me follow Men in Blazers. Thank you for that, John. Well, thank you for the Liverpool part. Following our crap, I feel for you. 152. Sue's in the chat says, God, John Green really is the voice in my head. Talking about Liverpool Football Club and Diet Dr. Pepper. Those two things. John, can we have a last word from you, you beautiful human being? As I said at the top, this is a mountain goats of a year. It is a time of a lot of chaos, a lot of fear. Los Angeles, we've all watched powerlessly. We've watched so much. We've watched so many bloody moments of challenge, not to mention the tuberculosis outbreak in Kansas City. Be safe, be healthy, people. Can you just give us, before we quit, an uplift, a perspective that will take my dead heart, John, and make it feel even fleetingly optimistic and alive?
Well, being with you has been a gift to me on what is actually, I haven't talked about it, but been one of the hardest weeks of my life. My brother and I lost a friend today, and we've just had a really rough week. And of course, there's also lots of challenges in the spaces we care about the most, with global health and with the access to basic medications and care for people living in impoverished communities being endangered in a way that we've really never seen before in the last 2 generations. And friends of mine in Sierra Leone asking me, are my meds going to get interrupted and am I going to die? And me not being able to answer them has been incredibly hard. And it's just been a really hard week. And so I'm reminded that the gift of my life, the gift in my life is community. Being with people I love, getting to talk about stuff I love, getting to talk about stuff I care about. And I care about you so much, Raj, and I'm very lucky to be able to care about football, which is the most unimportant thing, because about their life-saving medication. They're also texting me about Liverpool because these things coexist for us. They have to coexist for us.
It's so true. The life necessity and the life affirming. We need both of these things. You're a very generous human being. And I want to leave all of you out there. Let's all spiritually put ourselves on that balcony. We're overlooking Manchester. We're with John Green and Pep Guardiola. John's got his phone up in the air. He's introducing Pep Guardiola to the Mountain Goats. Oh, he's playing them that track of tracks, which you talked about on our show in the worst of the pandemic. We're going to make it to this year. If it kills me. And that is all we've got time for today. Quick heads up, call in your questions, 646-450-9472. You can send voice notes to that number now about your biggest questions about football and life. We'll answer them on Friday's weekend preview show, WGFOP. Also Friday, Ruben Amorim, that interview with a very lovely human being. That's what he came across as. Comes out on our Men in Blazers YouTube. It was on his 40th birthday. Who would want to spend their 40th birthday with Rog? Which is my first question, to be candid. And Bournemouth owner Bill Foley. That also rolls out on Friday too on our YouTube. Subscribe now. MIB Double Bill, the Ruben and Bill Show. John, you are an incredible human being. I'm so sorry for your loss, you and your brother. I hope your friend's memory is a blessing to you and strength in times when you need it to come. To better days ahead for all. Big, big thank you.
Courage,
John Green.